A shockingly unwell Trump went to Pennsylvania to support defense and innovation and was shockingly unwell when trying to speak. Is there any explanation other than cognitive decline here? Of course, he fell asleep, and the administration rapidly wants everybody to forget that they did this. Trump is very quickly becoming a liability where you kind of can't take him anywhere. Donald Trump on the CHIPS Act, an impenetrable word salad that some are describing as dementia personified. Can you make heads or tails out of what this guy is talking about here? Deeply unwell.
The chips, we had this ridiculous CHIPS Act where you give billions of dollars to a company and they didn't even know what the hell to do with it. You give them billions of dollars, they say they're going to build. Nobody knew what to do with it. And of course, the standards were so high. If you weren't transgender, as an example, you didn't qualify.
You must be trans to qualify. For what, sir? Oh, I don't know, just to qualify.
So they get the money, they look all over for transgender people to run the company, large portions. They couldn't find them. They weren't into the chip making business, I guess, right? They had other things on their mind. But this was the Biden fools, those idiots that almost destroyed our country.
Is there any explanation here other than he has no idea what's going on, what some might call dementia, cognitive decline? This is terrifying, terrifying stuff. Now, almost a rite of passage at this point, Trump falls asleep again during this event. And while Pete Hegseth is speaking, Donald Trump's head actually lolls back. I have never seen anything like this. And this is the guy, the nod father, who was saying Sleepy Joe can't be president. Look at him go back.
Companies, the tech companies, our best innovators have the ability to get into the Defense Department. You shouldn't have to sue your way in to the Department of War, which is what companies in the past have had to do in order to compete. I hope these companies can attest the fact that because of President Trump's leadership, we have an entirely different department.
Folks, he's asleep, but Biden couldn't do it. Now, there's another interesting thing I want to talk to you about, and that is magnets. Now, you might say, David, what do you mean? Donald Trump has had a growing obsession with magnets, and I think I figured out why. And it probably won't surprise you.
True. And the same thing with the magnetic elevators. We want them to be made hydraulic, which it can be hit by lightning, it can be hit by anything. When a little water touches the magnets, it doesn't work anymore. And you're in the Atlantic Ocean with waves that are 60 feet high, and the Pacific Ocean with waves that are 70 feet high, and they're talking about magnets. It makes you...
Now, you might be going, well, this is very weird. Why is he obsessed with magnets? I thought one of the many wars he ended was the infamous war of magnets versus water, but he keeps going. But first, really quick, a word from our sponsor. If you get scam calls, texts, or emails, people just trying to sell you stuff or sending you sketchy messages, this isn't happening by accident, because your name, phone number, email, home address, relatives, job history can just be sitting there in a public database, and then marketers can get access to it, scammers, different companies, and then they target you. What our sponsor Incogni does is just get rid of all that information from the corners of the internet where scammers get it. And this includes people search sites, online directories, data broker lists. Incogni will send removal requests to hundreds of notorious sites, and they'll keep just following up. And if your data comes back, they'll get it removed again. What I think is the best is the custom removals feature. This is with the unlimited plan. Sometimes you might find your information somewhere else, some one-off directory or a search result or a business database. You can paste that link into Incogni, and they'll get to work right away to get it taken down. Removing your info from these databases means it's harder for scammers and identity thieves to reach you, and you can get 60% off an annual plan at incogni.com/Pakman with the code Pakman. The link is in the description. Now, back to the video. And here he starts to give us a sense of why he's so obsessed with this.
Do magnets, okay? I'll tell you how to make money. Do magnets. You're doing a lot of great stuff. Do magnets. because one thing we don't have, but we're getting close, but do magnets. So I hope John Gray is listening to me so he can give him a couple of bucks and go into the magnet business. I guarantee it's going to be a success. It's one thing we don't, for some reason, it's not complex, not hard. We have the material. For some reason, they just don't, they don't do it. We need magnets. So one of you companies out there, go out, I'll teach you how to make money.
What is it that is going on here? Well, a new investigation by ProPublica reports that the White House asked the Pentagon to give a $620 million loan to a company with ties to Donald Trump's oldest son. The investigation, based on interviews with Pentagon officials and reviews of Defense Department documents, the company in question is Vulcan Elements. It makes rare earth magnets for drones and satellites. And Donald Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm took a stake in the company 3 months before the Pentagon announced this deal. Why is Trump now pushing magnets? As usual, there is a family grift. Now, maybe the most relatable moment, Donald Trump saying, "My tax cuts helped a friend buy a private jet," which should instantly be made into a campaign ad.
But we passed the largest tax cuts in American history. We delivered 100% expensing. That's a big one. I think, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country in my first term. We then got hit with COVID, but even including COVID, we did a great job in COVID. We never got credit for it, but every country was ripped apart by that disaster. We know where it came from. It came from Wuhan, and I said that. But we were all ripped apart, and China got hit very, very hard. It was delayed. They got hit very hard at the end. But it was a terrible thing, but we had the greatest economy in history. And before COVID, nobody had ever seen anything like it. But if you just took those 3 years and look at what we're doing now, we're going to blow them away. I mean, unless some horrible event happens, which is always possible, you know, we always have to at least think about the horrible events. Who would have thought that COVID could have happened? A thing like that could have happened. But we delivered 100% expensing, and that expensing, I think, we write it off in 1 year. I have friends that bought things that, frankly, they didn't need. I have a friend that never flew on a private plane in his life, and he ended up going out buying a very expensive private plane.
The tax cuts helped a friend who didn't even need a private plane to be able to afford to buy one. What a populist message. That should that should immediately be taken and made a campaign ad. Trump on Iran, as the ceasefire has fallen apart, we're bombing, they're bombing, it's absolute chaos. Trump goes, oh, they want to settle this whole thing. Really bad.
They want to settle so badly. They don't like what we're doing. And they do want to settle. We'll find out whether or not we settle with them or we just finish it off.
If Iran wants to settle so badly, then why can't you get this damn deal done? He has no idea what is going on, and the Iran war has turned into one of the most humiliating foreign policy blunders that I've ever reported on. And you know, I started following this stuff closely during the Iraq war of George W. Bush. Just pathetic. And Iran's been desperate to make a deal for 4 months, and somehow it won't get done. And Trump also wants to make a deal. Gee, I wonder why that's going on. And finally, when Donald Trump says most people don't know something, what he means is that until very recently, he didn't know something. Take a listen to this.
Democrats, dumb. You take the B out. Most people don't know that dumb has a B, okay? But the U replaces the E, and you have a Democrat. And I just don't understand, because their policy is so dumb, what they've done to this country and what they will do to the country. If we don't win the midterms or win the election, everything that I'm talking about, you could just...
You know, a lot of people don't know that the word mnemonic sounds like it starts with an N, but it actually starts with an M. And the thing about M is it's a nasty letter, because it can be silent if it's at the front of a word. It can be silent elsewhere, but they won't tell you that on the fake news media. Nasty, nasty people. This guy is in real trouble. And we're in trouble because he's arguably the most powerful person in the world.